I grew up outside of Philadelphia, avid Eagles fan, have to put that in there right away. My parents were both highly educated.
His first job was working for his father's economic consulting firm. Alex went to Tufts originally and then got his MBA from Wharton.
When I got out of school, I was playing basketball with some folks. One of them had an investment bank, and he said, why don't you come work for me part-time to learn about investment banking? Well, little did I know, on the side, he had purchased licenses, cellular licenses for Altoona, PA, and Cumberland, Maryland. So not only was he infected, but he infected me. That's how I got into wireless. What we did was aggregate these interests for smaller telephone companies and then negotiate with the bigger wireless companies to give them their own territory. And then at the same time, we filed for the non-wireline licenses, which were pure lottery.
We kind of taught each other the investment banking ropes and became best friends. We, had a series of companies that we started together initially. This is in the 80s with this merchant bank and then Horizon Cellular. Everything changed when we met Mark Ganzi and started Apex Site Management together.
Jeff and I saw that the cellular industry was going to go from 2 operators per city to potentially 6, 7, 8, 9. A lot of rooftops would be required, particularly because the PCS frequencies were higher.
He did rooftops before people thought about infrastructure as separate from the wireless business. It was sort of one of the first standalone infrastructure companies, along with SBA back when you guys were starting that.
And we grew that to be the largest in the US. What we recognized was the owners of hotels, office buildings, didn't really understand the revenue potential for the rooftop. The wireless carriers had a very difficult time placing antennas on their structures efficiently. We felt that there was a real need to connect it, and the catalyst was the PCS auction. Much more spectrum, many more competitors would drive a need for this. So that was really what pushed us into the business. I joined Mark Ganzi at GTP, Global Tower Partners. We built the company, the largest private tower owner in the US. Unfortunately, GTP was owned predominantly by one investor, and when they wanted to sell, we didn't have much choice. We had to sell, but we looked at each other and said, what are we gonna do next? We decided to do 2 things. One was Mark and Ben Jenkins started Digital Bridge. We also started Vertical Bridge, which I focused on. And it really was the dawn of communications infrastructure as an investment sector, not just towers. Infrastructure was roads, ports, energy, but not necessarily communications infrastructures. When we started Vertical Bridge, we said we're gonna give 1% of our gross margin to charity every year. So as we've grown our business to now, hundreds of millions a year in gross profit, we give away millions of dollars a year. So we're coming up on $10 million.
I can remember my first budget meeting, and we were talking about, how we could save money. And I said, that's a lot of money. Maybe we should cut that back. He's like, oh no, we're never cutting that back.
That's probably the single thing I'm most proud of.
We called him from the offices of NATE when we needed help. And when we started the NWSA, or the National Wireless Safety Alliance, we called Alex. When we started the Tower Family Foundation, Alex stepped up, one of the first ones. When we started the TATE initiative, the Telecom Against Trafficking and Exploitation, Alex has stepped up time and again for people individually who needed help within our industry, not just organizations.
And now what we're really focused on is net zero.
Vertical Bridge is the first carbon neutral tower company.
But how do we achieve net zero in terms of clean power generation, not just purchasing offsets?
It's not an infrastructure hall of fame. So the people that are commenting on him are our customers. That's very different than acknowledging his knowledge of infrastructure. That's acknowledging his skills and his abilities as a leader and as a game changer from the early 90s.
Alex is extremely honored to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's extremely humbled by it as well.